We're live. It says we're live.
Says, thanks for joining us. Stay tuned. The meeting will start shortly.
Okay, because my YouTube says meeting is
Yeah,
now.
meeting is now streaming. It says up top on the base of saying.
Okay.
Ready, Mr. Turner?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to call to order the East Cleveland Public Library Board of Trustees meetings, virtual meeting also being streamed on YouTube. Today is Saturday, April the 17th, 2021. It's approximately 2:11 p.m. I also want to say to the people who are viewing us online that we are actually in our safe space cubicles. So if you see us speaking without a mask, it does not mean that we are not behaving responsibly and making sure that we complete social distancing. As a matter of fact, we are actually set up in little compartments, and from what we see here socially, everybody should be safe. So Mr. Turner, would you please call the roll to see who is in attendance?
Mr. Rashid.
Here.
Mr. Mays.
Here.
Ms. Shahid.
Here.
Ms. Sharpley.
Here.
Mr. Silvera.
Here.
Dr. Harris. Ms. McDonald. 5 present.
5 present, so that does constitute a quorum.
Have you heard from the absent council, absent board members?
That's Dr. Harris. Dr. Harris texts that she's on her way.
So we do have a quorum, so the next item on our agenda is for us to sing "Lift Every Voice and Sing." Where is it? Oh, so every voice and sing, bring let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the darkness has taught us. Sing a song of the hope that the presumption has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Thank you. The next item on the agenda will be the approval of the agenda.
I'd like the fees have been lost.
Excuse me.
I said it's like the fees. No, okay, it's back.
Mr. Chairman, I move that
It's been moved. Can we get a second?
Second.
It's been second. Is there any discussion? No discussion being recognized. Mr. Turner, would you please call for the vote?
Mr. Rashid.
Yes.
Mr. Mays.
Yay.
Ms. Shahid.
Yes.
Ms. Sharpley.
Yes.
Mr. Silvera.
Yes.
5 yes.
5 yeses. The agenda has been approved. The next item on the agenda is the approval of our regular board meeting minutes from March the 20th, 2021.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes as printed. As of, what is it? March the 20th, 2021.
It's been motioned and it's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Turner, would you please call for the vote?
Mr. Rashid,
Yes.
Mr. Mays,
Yay.
Ms. Shahid,
Yes.
Ms. Sharpley,
Yes.
Mr. Silvera,
Yes.
I have 5 yeses.
5 yeses, so we have approved the regular board meeting minutes from March the 20th, 2021. The next item on the agenda today is communications. I think that would come from our director.
Mr. President, there are no communications.
No communications. Next item on the agenda is the president's report, which I had some items that I wanted to share with everyone. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that the 11th annual conference of the American Librarians, is being held July 28th through August 1st, 2021. I'm really disappointed this year because we've been informed that it is not going to be live, it's going to be virtual this year. And I was really looking forward to some of the activities that they had planned during our visit in Tulsa, Oklahoma. As a matter of fact, and the reason why is because it was, they had, what they had tentatively talked about was a, based around Black Wall Street and the Tulsa massacre. And they had a lot of different things that they were discussing that would have taken place if we were actually going to visit, for those who were. But for those who don't know, the Tulsa massacre took place on May 31st through June 1, 1921, when mobs of white residents, many of them deputized and given weapons by city officials, attacked Black residents and businesses of the Greenwood district in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It has been called the single worst incident of racial violence in American history. The attack, carried out on the ground and from private aircraft, destroyed more than 35 square blocks of the district. And at that time, the Greenwood district was the wealthiest Black community in the United States and known as Black Wall Street. So I can't, express, I'm not just the sadness about the event, but not being able to go to Tulsa. I was really looking forward to that. So, but anyway, it's going to be virtual. And for those who want to sign up and actually attend, I think we are registered. Mr. Turner has already registered. Oh, he's getting the feedback from those who actually want to attend.
Okay.
The next item that I wanted to report out about is that I attended the Buildings and Ground meeting, and we discussed our progress relative to the marquee project that is going on, that we're currently all working on as a group. And one of the things I would like to suggest or recommend to all the board members is, if you get an opportunity, take a look at the marquees and the renovations that have been done to the South Euclid Library, the Beechwood Library, Cleveland Heights Library, and just look around, because I'm thinking that I would like to see that our process, what we're going to do, will result in something that will, reflect the upgrading of the building, the upgrading of the marquee, and that the sign would be integrated into the current layout right now, and architecturally it would fit. I'm not comfortable with what we've been presented with so far, a 16-foot sign sitting in front of the city, in front of the library, but that's just one proposal of many. So what we thought about is that we would like to get suggestions and compare design approaches. And one of Mr. Cockfield had mentioned to me, one of the ways we may be able to accomplish that is to issue an RFP, a request for proposals, because there are several very professional sign firms around the city of Cleveland. And what I was thinking when we went down this path is that these individual companies would be contacted about our project, and then they could offer their input and even give us a presentation as to, and each company may have a different way of approaching it. So we could take a look. We've seen one approach, then, we could take a look at several different approaches. And with the budget that we have, I feel confident that we're going to be able to find a design that we fit and work with a company that will be able to work within our budget and do a fine job, because this institution deserves the due diligence that we should put forth in selecting this new marquee, because it's just not a marquee. It's basically the approach to the entire building and what people will see. So that's, Carlos and I, the director and I have talked about that. And our consultant can help us once we acquire all of the responses for the request for proposal. So we'll continue to move forward in that way. And if Mr. Mays has anything else that he wants to add in the buildings and ground report, we'll talk about it then. So, but I just wanted to share my thoughts about that. We've also received a new shipment of cleaning supplies and PPE for the community, and I'm sure the director will kind of give us additional information like that. But what I would like to have is a list of all the charitable organizations in the city of East Cleveland, so that we can take a look at, because we also, each one of us have a certain number of boxes of this equipment that we can assign or point to a charity of our choice. And then I think the rest of the way we do it, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Director, is that we have people come here and we give it to them.
That is correct.
Okay, well, see, and there were certain numbers of boxes that were designated for each one of the members. And if we had a list of the charities, homeless shelters, and everything else in East Cleveland, I'd like to select my list, my place to contribute the ones that I have in the name of the library to one of those organizations. So if we can get our staff or to get us back some way to have a list of those organizations, that's what I'd like to do with mine. And I guess everybody else can decide how they'd like to distribute theirs. But that's pretty much what I had today for my director's report. And
A question on your report, in reference to the person whom we have brought aboard, how will he fit in this equation, and how will we use him further, or whether we are paying him for services that he's provided now up to this point if we go out for bids? So I would like for someone to articulate as to how he would fit into this situation.
Excuse me, Mr. Mays, could you speak up louder?
Yes, ma'am. I was just questioning in how the person whom we have now working with us in reference to the marquee, how would he fit into this equation? And if we go out for bids, whether we would still utilize his service or pay him what we have, the service that he has provided, or keep him on payroll. So I would like for whomever to answer that question.
Can I say? Okay, yes, Major Harrison is on contract with us. We've agreed to pay him a flat fee, not an hourly rate. So this is news to me today that we're going to add another process to this, the request for proposal, which he can help us and assist us with that process as well.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I thought as well, because once we receive back a list of proposals and designs, because the proposal would be designs, I guess, for each company saying this is how they would attack it. This company would say this is how we would do it. Then we can take a look at all of those, and I think that his expertise will come in handy at describing to us what we are seeing in terms of the technical aspect of this sign. But I don't, and I mean, it is the decision of the board as to what we decide to do. But I was just thinking, as I'm watching the progress as we're going forward at the last Buildings and Grounds meeting, I would like to see more designs that would be presented to us to make a choice from as to which one we would like to see go forward. And then we could, once we enlist or engage with that particular company, then there are going to be details about that contract that we may or may not understand, but I think his expertise would be helpful there. But that's just my feedback. I mean, we're a board, and so, I'd like to hear, if there are people who would like to just go with the design we currently have, we should say that, but if not, or whatever. But I would just like to have feedback from the board as to what you guys think.
And before we go to anyone else, we just speak out loud, I'd just like to say this. If we go out for bids, then that kind of moves him out of the equation.
No, he represents the library to make sure that we can meet the specifications, that the companies that help us go through the bids, and also through the construction process as well, to make sure everything is done on board. So he works for the library in the best interest of East Cleveland Public Library.
And what other services that he provide is that?
Point of order, can we have that discussion in buildings and grounds?
Yeah, I agree with that, yes. We'll save that for the buildings and grounds meeting. So that concludes my director's reports. And any other feedback, please, when we get back into the buildings and grounds meeting, perhaps that's when, if there are other opinions as to how we should proceed through this. But I was just sharing my thoughts based on my attendance at the last buildings and grounds meetings. But that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the director's report. Mr. Latimer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Library activities continue to move back to normal each day, and our patrons, they are following safety protocols. The state report was submitted before the February 26th deadline. Kudos to Mr. Cotfield and Ms. Flood for collecting the data and our team of getting that information submitted. The vaccine registration program in partnership with NOAA and the Cleveland Foundation's Rapid Response Fund was paused because of the problems with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. To date, I have not heard any other information on how we're going to move forward. East Cleveland Public Library was notified on April 4th, 2020, us being a passport acceptance agent from the U.S. Department of State Passport Services. Now we offer expedited services, which means a patron can apply for expedited services and receive their passport in 4 to 6 weeks.
All right.
Early literacy preschool kits for preschool educators. We now offer, and I have some flyers that our board can share out to the community, friends from the funds to help support this initiative. Each preschool classroom will receive this kit, which is 25 picture books and board books, 1 big book, and a CD. Also, we did receive, the president mentioned earlier, donations from Matthew 25 Ministries, 20 pallets. We will be working within the next couple weeks to box those items up, and we have not set a date for the delivery to the public. However, we will get you that request for the list of charitable organizations.
Thank you.
For the boxes, we'll be setting aside for the board members for their outreach. Also, this is a message from Ohio Library Council in regards to House Bill 110. The public library fund percentage could be reduced from 1.7 of the general revenue fund to 1.66. This is this conversation among the General Assembly in regards to money that's in the American Rescue Plan. This comment was to the General Assembly. Let me be clear, Ohio public libraries are not receiving $170 million in federal funding through the American Rescue Plan. Instead, about $200 million will go to libraries nationwide through the Federal Institute of Museum and Library Services, IMLS. Of that amount, the State Library of Ohio will receive an estimated of only $4.5 million divided among all of the university libraries, the K-12 school libraries, and 200 and something public libraries in Ohio. Also, even though public libraries are separate political subdivisions in the state of Ohio, we are not eligible and we are not receiving the billions of dollars that other local government units will be receiving directly through the American Rescue Plan. So the information was shared to the General Assembly. And that concludes the director's report.
Before I move to accept the director's report, a question. Where does East Cleveland library fall in the equation?
Well, we are part of Ohio Library Council, and we cannot directly go after the CARES Act money or the American Rescue Plan. So when those funds are distributed at the state level, then sorted out to the library level, we don't know what percentage of that we will get.
Okay, thank you. There's no further questions, Mr. Chairman. I move that we accept the director's report.
We have a second?
Second.
It's been motioned and second. Mr. Turner, would you please call for the vote?
Mr. Rashid,
Yes.
Mr. Mays,
Yay.
Ms. Shahid,
Yeah.
Ms. Sharkey,
Yes.
Mr. Silvera,
Yes.
Dr. Harris.
Yes.
Have 6 yeses.
6 yeses, the director's report has been accepted. The next item on the agenda is the fiscal officer's report. Mr. Cockfield.
Thank you. I'm going to be reading, this is for the financial period ending March 2021. Reconciled cash balances as of March 31st were $1,483,010.43. Through the first quarter of the year, general fund operations are running at 24.4% of budget. There are some line items that exhibit higher than budgeted spending for the first quarter, but are due to front loading the expenditures to have supplies on hand. Unemployment benefits expense, which is also showing higher than expected spending, is comprised of payment from 2020, which was not budgeted for, while also representing a billing procedure by ODJFS that causes reimbursing employers to pay charges which are anticipated and not necessarily billed. While our year-to-date expense appears high, we are carrying a credit balance with the department. Most of the library spending takes place during the first 3 quarters of the year. As such, if during the last quarter there becomes a need to realign our appropriations, a budget adjustment will be requested. The library received a $100 donation through our website during the month of March. After the PayPal fee, we reported a deposit of $96.80. We received 5 separate donations in April, totaling $225, which after fees was $216.96. Our tax budget for 2022 has been received and passed by resolution by the East Cleveland School Board, and the budget has been submitted to the Budget Commission as required. We received notification that PLF revenues are up for the month of April. To quote from OLC email, the Ohio Department of Taxation, ODT, posted the April 2021 PLF distribution of $28,458,737, which is $5.6 million. That's up 24.45% above ODT's original estimate that was issued in July 2020, and $2.4 million, that's up 9.17%, more than ODT's updated estimate issued in December 2020. State revenues continue their trend of exceeding projections. According to the Office of Budget and Management, overall state tax receipts for the month of March came in $41.3 million above estimates. So far, state fiscal year 2021 tax collections are up $763.4 million above estimates. PLF revenues through 3 months are running ahead of budget. Our PLF revenues through 3 months are running ahead of budget at 29.33.6%. I've attached a history of state funding for Ohio Public Libraries for your review, which is attached to the director's report which I submitted. I mean, the fiscal officer's report which I submitted. That concludes my report.
Question to the director, finance director. Mr. Cockfield, can you tell me why, if we received $225, which after fees, what fees were there, and only received $216?
PayPal charges a collection fee, and they take that fee off the top and submit to you what's left. That's how they make their money.
So So anytime we're receiving monies from any entity or whatever, it goes through them, they accept it, and then it comes back to us?
Yeah, what happens is that the donation goes to PayPal. I receive notification that we received the donation. I go to the PayPal website, authorize them to submit it to our bank account. They take their fee and we receive the net.
Now, that doesn't apply to people who just walk in there and give us a check. Only
this
if
is
you
through the
access
website.
PayPal system.
If this is through the website, so you have to,
Okay,
Did you understand what I was?
yes, but I'm kind of troubled by it. Is that something we hired, or that's the process in which it has to?
Yeah, that's how PayPal makes its money. They collect a fee from the donation.
And in turn, what they do for us is allow people that anywhere on the planet that has access to PayPal to donate to us if they want to.
People trust PayPal.
Now, you said on the second page, the revenue through the 3 months, running ahead of budget at 29.336%. Is that high, or is that within the norms?
I mean, ahead of budget, if we were on budget, it would have been 25%. So we've actually received 29.336% of our revenue through 3 quarters, or through 3 months, I'm sorry, as opposed to 25% of our revenue. 25% of our budget revenue, we've received 29% of our budget revenue.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the fiscal officer's report.
It's been so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Turner, would you please call for the vote?
Mr. Rashid?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mays?
Yay.
Ms. Shahi?
Yes.
Ms. Sharpley?
Yes.
Mr. Silvera?
Yes.
Dr. Harris?
Yes.
I have 6 yeses.
6 yeses, the fiscal officer's report has been approved. Next item on the agenda is committee updates, starting with the finance committee report.
Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee did meet on Thursday, April 8th, an in-person meeting. However, a board member, Ms. McDonald, wasn't able to attend, but she did come in through conference calls, so we were able to have our meeting. And we basically went through all the things that Mr. Copperfield expounded upon. So in essence, we're financially in a secure place. Every spending is normal. So there are really no other issues that we would want to bring forward at this point. So that concludes our report.
Okay. Next committee item is personnel committee update.
Personnel committee not meet this month.
Okay. Next item, building and grounds committee update. Mr. Mays.
Buildings and ground met also on Thursday, April the 8th at 1 p.m. 2021. As the president was articulating earlier in his report in reference to the marquee, I'll just start there. The marquee there, he had some trepidations in reference to the size and the height, I guess, of the marquee that was presented, what have you. But I just hope that we can move forward and get the marquee, because it plays a pivotal role in the library. And I agree with him. We don't want something that's going to take away from the aesthetics of the building itself. Even it's a historical building, and we would like to stay within that frame, work. We also discussed, I don't have my minutes with me, but I'm just going to, as an overview itself, the top of my head of what took place. The carpet will be installed, I guess, in the main portion of the library. I believe it's the 28th. I believe if my memory serves me correct, somewhere in that time frame, they will started on that, as well as the roof. I think they have identified a roofer, a contractor to take care of the roof portion that is leaking. And what else did we discuss?
The carpeting,
The what?
carpeting.
Oh, I said the carpet, I said that word. Oh, thank you. How do you know what was on our agenda? Yes, there was a discussion in reference to the carpet center and that, I believe I'm gonna yield to Mr. Latimer as to the time frame for having you up there. It's going to be a minute because they have to, I guess, going to rent the facilities and not buying. Mr. Carlos.
That is correct. We're gonna lease the copy print equipment. The next board meeting and the next Buildings and Grounds meeting, we'll have a clean timeline of where we are on all the projects. But the first project would be the roof, the flat roof, to start the projects.
And the carpet is somewhere.
Around July, but we'll have those dates as soon as we get the start date of the contractors to the roof.
Mr. President, do you have any other?
No, Mr. Cooper actually attended our Buildings and Grounds meeting, which is really helpful when he comes like that, because he is the person, you know, closest to these projects. And he did say that the first process was to make sure that the roof was secure before we start moving on to the rest of the things. So I guess what we can report is that things are progressing and we seem to be on schedule. So that's pretty much all I have.
And they would remove the air conditioning outside, whatever it is, sitting up.
Oh, yeah, the condenser.
Yeah, whatever it
They had to remove that in order to repair the roof, and then they would put it back. They need a giant crane to do it or something.
is. And Mr. What's his name? The major, he met also with us, and that's where the president was articulating the problem that we encountered at that time. Hopefully we, as I said, I hope that we can get this marquee in place and up and optimal, whereas the public can see just what's going on and what's happening behind these four walls. If the president doesn't have any other comments in reference to that, or nor does the
The only thing I would like to add is that I just want to encourage all of the board members to give input about this marquee, because this is a major step for us. And if you do have an opportunity to take a look at the other libraries around, then I think it kind of it sheds some additional insight on how we can approach updating our facility, because I think the institution just deserves that from us. That's pretty much all I had.
You said Beechwood.
Yeah, I drove by
Which one did you look at?
South Euclid, Beechwood, Cleveland Heights, are three that I see on a regular basis. And it's in Shaker Heights just upgraded their library's entrance. And it's really nice when you go in there now. And it's an older building as well. So, you know, but the other three have pretty large signs that are visible. And, I thought about those first because, you can look at the location of the sign, the size of the sign, and the information that they're displaying on the sign. And I'm thinking and hoping that we are able to accomplish a design for the front of the building that incorporates the, the artistic side of the building and the fact that it is a historical building. And we want to, make sure that as we venture, embark on this venture to upgrade the facility, that it looks appropriate. And that has to be decided by everybody in this room.
And also, it's in the archives, this library, the old portion. And I don't know whether they are, this new portion that we put on, whether it has any, making a difference or detract from the portion that's historical, and that's the old portion. I don't know. It is in the archives in Washington, D.C. I've observed it in archives and met with the historians in Washington, D.C. and records to this library and also buildings in the city.
We clear.
The school was in the archives.
We never had a marquee before, ever.
Say that
Did the
again?
East Cleveland Library ever have marquees?
No.
Except you talking about the one that's out there now?
No, it never had a marquee.
And you don't consider that the one out there now, Marquis? No.
Not really, it doesn't
Okay.
fall within the category of a marquee because it does not, it's just a sign out there.
Put our
Right?
address on it.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. But that's, what you just said is really, even to me, more of a reason for us to take a cautious approach to this, to do this right, because it is a historical building, and we are the people that's ultimately responsible for how this process takes place and how it looks at the end of the day.
Okay, if there's nothing else in reference, or no other questions in regards to building the ground, that's building the ground report, Mr. Chairman.
That concludes the Buildings and Ground Library Services update. Will be next on the agenda.
Library services, no report, no meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda. E is the ad hoc committee update.
Mr. Chairman, the ad hoc committee is not met, but I do have some comments that I do want to make. As we had talked earlier, I think we did not receive a response back from the city based upon the communication that was set out under your signature. I am recommending that we send out another communication, a second request for clarification of the status of the application process for properties behind the library, and to further include the city law director in that communication, as well as the library's legal counsel in that communication. And give them at least a couple more weeks to respond. And at that point, if we do not get a response, then we'll meet and we'll discuss further action, how we will proceed.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
May I ask as to whom you are giving these correspondence to?
To the last one was sent to Ms. Solana Wallace, who is the coordinator for the library.
We did not send one to the mayor as well as council.
I think initially we sent one to Ms. Wallace, and she's the point person for the program.
I believe we copied the council president.
The council went about for the mayor, CC, no. So I would say in response to CC, the mayor and the law director, as well as council, in making this a second request for information for clarification.
Because that person works under the auspices of the administration, which is the mayor. So I think it should go to the mayor and to, just a suggestion, Mr. Severo, I see you doing this. I work there, I know what the procedures are, I've been there. And so even she may be over in that department, operating that department, but it still goes to the mayor. He will bundle it to the, that person of in that department, if it goes there, but it should rest with the administration and the council to determine those factors, because there has been some action in reference to that property before. And so that's why I was saying, just making a suggestion, Mr.
But I would also make this point that because there is a potential conflict of interest with the mayor in terms of that property, that's why I thought it was prudent to send it to Ms. Wallace as the administration person in administration that has the due diligence and responsibility for overseeing the program. So that's why I was sent directly to her. I understand your point, but at the same time, as a CC or included in communication, I think it's appropriate, but the person is responsible for the day-to-day oversight of that program, that's where communication should be.
Well, why I said that, Mr. Shabir, I think it bears hearing me. One is the fact that it put him on the spot. First of all, he is the mayor. It puts him on the spot because any elected official, as far as council, as well as the mayor, to be involved in property that's in the land bank, first of all. So you want to put him on the spot. And a lot, maybe the council does not know that as well, that it first should be put out to the public to act on it, and not the council or administration or the mayor. I'll just put it that, and the mayor or the council to act on property because they see it first. And that is the law, is that they cannot act on, they must put it out for public. If no one respond to the property being in the land bank, then they can take a chance and get it. That's the way it operates.
Okay. Okay, well, in the interest of time, as well as I just, make my comments about that, is that we should respect the office and just send him a copy of it too. The letter could be addressed exactly to who you sent it to, but just send a copy of that to him, our attorney, and to the law director. Because I'm thinking that at some point we have to decide to make a new application. If we don't get any feedback from them that appropriately addresses the things that have happened in the past, which I was reluctant to go down this road in the beginning, but I wanted to support your insight in, because you had actual experience in working with this. But if we find that we are not getting the appropriate response, I would suggest that our next step, it should be to make a brand new application in 2021, and then let the process play out from there. So let's, after having said that, we'll send the letter, the second letter, as you said, to follow up, and then we'll see what happens then.
Right.
Okay. So does that conclude your update?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is new business. Yes, sir.
Just an update from the Strategic Planning Committee, although it was not scheduled. You can go into the East Cleveland Public Library website and see an update around our strategic plan, thanks to Mrs. Sarah Green. So she did a really good job on that update.
I want to also support that. I actually saw it, saw the publishing of it on YouTube, and I thought it was very well done. It was very tastefully done. Is there any other comment?
Yeah, not on that. I agree with you on that. I do have some new business.
Yes, sir. You have the floor, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I brought up the discussion in the last board meeting in reference to a sponsor. All resolution that's passed should have a sponsor. And to my surprise, I got a text from the director. He had done his research, and I was correct and should have a sponsor. All the resolution that's passed as to who's sponsoring it. So I just wanted to bring that up in the new business. And I hope from this point forward, we will have sponsors on the resolution that is passed. Because that is in keeping. Because as I said at that time, and I won't belabor the point, as I said at that time, it's just a piece of paper you're giving someone, they're saying, well, who's sponsoring the buildings and grounds? That's a committee. It's not a sponsor. So I'm not going to articulate that as just let you know that what I said had been corrected and Mr. Carlos, and I thank you for investigating that in town.
We did finally that you did, public library. I didn't have another new business.
No other new business?
No, I do have one more.
You do got one more, please,
Yes,
sir.
okay, in reference to time, I need, a decision from the board. East Cleveland Public Library, was reached out to from Charlie Bibb to host, the first 11th district, congressional district debate. We polled the board. There was a lot of hesitation and reservation in regards to us doing this. The biggest concern is managing dignitaries that would come, although it will be limited seating, but also safety and security issues, as we all experience. We see in the news every day. It's a lot of big issues. Another issue is the infrastructure in East Cleveland, the traffic flow, and also we will need support from additional security to help manage this, which I don't believe we will get the support from the East Cleveland Police Department. With the support of the board and with respect to Mr. Charlie Bibb, who was a former board member, I would like to respectfully, from the information I have with board members, to decline this request, but I wanted to put it on the table.
I have two questions. First question is you proposing a partisan debate or to include just Democratic or Republican and Democratic candidates that be running for the office? That's my first question. Second question would be, given the conditions of Newton Avenue with the paving going on, would that also be a conflict in terms of logistics, in terms of parking, getting people in and out and around with that going on, or would that be finished by now?
The second question I'll start with, that date is May 22nd, so I'm not sure of the timeline when the street projects will be complete. However, that will be a challenge. The first question I asked him, was this going to be part of the Democratic Club? He said no. It was a Charlie Bibb production, pretty much. So we don't have a organization sponsoring this, but an individual.
You have no organizational backup
No.
behind this? No. Yeah, how do you propose to fund the activity?
My question to him was, will he have commitment from all 6 candidates? He said that his team will work on that. He just needed to secure a location. I had conversations with some of my other colleagues in the library world about us potentially hosting something like this, and they said pretty much you definitely need a neutral organization to back this, and also to provide some financial support for technical support as well as security. And I believe Dr. Harris had some concerns and reservations as well.
Basically, we need to leave that alone. No other conflict of interest for everybody.
I'm gonna be,
If you explain further why you feel that way?
No, I can't.
I would take somewhat exception with the fact that we have allowed other entities come in, and even during his tenure, others have had their meetings or whatever here, candidates have came even local candidates as well as the candidates. I attended the, one of the symposium that they had, or debates they had in Cleveland. All of the candidates were there. And Tyler Bibbs was there, but he didn't see me, I saw him. But he was there as well. And they had the candidates, and I don't know whether this is a Democratic seat, and I don't know whether the candidates was there or whether they was Democrats or Republicans, but it is a Democratic seat. And I think going back to the little history,
Please don't go too far back.
I just got back to Louis Stokes and them fought hard back in that day to get some black representation. And so that's why it is a Democratic seat. Number two, well, more precinct, and then now it extends all the way to Akron. So it was pretty well attended, but I think we have the facility here to accommodate that, which would be the main auditorium. And since we are in this, as our ward, I mean, not ward, what is it, our district or whatever. And I think it would be incumbent upon us if we have the facility to accommodate this way, as we can come and see and hear the candidates that's running for the seat. So I don't want to deprive East Cleveland, because East Cleveland plays a pivotal role as well in the seat, whether they Democrats, or Republicans, or independent, or whatever. That gives them an opportunity to hear the candidates and give an opportunity to not only hear them, but be able to vote for people of their choice. So it's not a matter of whether it's Charlie Bibbs or whomever. I have some trepidation, but I doubt there seriously would be that many people here in the first place. And I think I heard somewhere it said 50, but we had more than 50, but they must, everyone, the candidates as well, they must wear their masks, and they have to go through, that's what we went through when I was in Cleveland. They take your temperature as well. So, and I know we do it here. So,
This debate is primarily, there's like primary debate, the candidates primary, not Democrat versus Republicans, but more or less one particular party trying to figure out, who's best in the primary. Is that what we're talking about?
yes, that's the primary. I don't know whether.
Pretty much, that's what it seems as if though.
But, I wouldn't necessarily be interested. I would see everybody, whether Republican, Democrat, Independent, you're gonna do something like that, and make it open to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Versus,
Well, that's what it is.
I believe the seat is to be open. The election is in August, the special election
the
is in
special election
August.
is in August, so,
So I guess,
So you're saying that the candidates that will come here represent both parties or just one?
I think whoever, both parties and whatever, not just, Democratic focused,
Everyone that's
Yeah.
running.
But they pick this venue, that particular group, whereas the other group can pick another venue, if, you know what I'm saying? If you have Republicans here or Democrats, they can always, so we just provide a venue for a debate.
Yes, that's what they had.
basically,
That's what it all, as I said, that's what was included. All the candidates was there. I think it's seven or nine, and they were there. Let's see, one, I can count.
and basically that's what they were asking us, but there are details to us accepting a date like that. And I think that those are the things that we have to make sure that we work out, and that we have decided that we want to move forward, but to work the details out first before we commit to letting someone, to having something like this here, because we don't want it to end up being a debacle because of the logistics of the technology that's involved, because I think that you would have to broadcast this thing some kind of way. There's just a number of different things that we would have to be responsible for if we said yes to this without having all the details. The cost of it, there's going to be cost involved with it. So,
Can we get a
No, no, no.
vote real quick?
Excuse me,
okay,
for,
Dr. Harris.
Dr. Harris, before you go,
I'm sorry.
but I need to say this, we don't have to do anything, we
Okay.
just provide the facility. That's
No.
coming up on the people.
No, he doesn't, he doesn't have the capacity or the staff to do the work here. He needs the facility, he needs our technical support, he needs our security, he needs our logistics through the parking lot. He doesn't have a team to manage the project. He just has a team to, book the candidates and control the actual debate. We have to do the technical support. We have to provide the security. We have to secure the parking lot. We have to manage the crowd that comes in.
Can we table this till we get more information, or do you need a vote or a response from the team
I need to
now?
give him a response because he has a date set at May 22nd.
Why do we have to provide security to people coming to?
Because he doesn't have a supporting organization. This is a Charlie Bill production.
No, but listen to what I'm saying. When we was at this debate in Cleveland, we didn't have no security there. And all of the other things, they have people that are working, all they, people that's coming in here to hear the candidates.
Well, we have to have security
But
for
I mean-
just for the protection of our library.
Yeah, I understand that, it's
So-
walking all over the place, but they're, they're
And
coming through
who's
whatever.
going to set up for all of this? I mean, what he's saying is that we basically, if we said yes, then we would be responsible for doing everything. This is what I'm understanding.
Are we gonna pay for this as well, security and other?
All of this is hell because he wants to bring this in East Cleveland. He's just bringing the candidates. Everything else falls on East Cleveland Public Library.
So what would be the budget impact for something like, just a general, in terms of cost that the library incurs man hours and employee costs?
I don't have those numbers, but one of the services will be the video, audio, which I wanted to outsource that because of that needs a high level production. So there's a cost with that. There will be a cost with, this will happen during regular library hours, so we would need some type of security to assist us while we're doing our regular library, but also to watch the parking lot and also other security. I don't think there will be any other costs other than technical support and additional
Like I
security.
said, with the road construction going on right now, if that's still going on then, and that creates other.
Just the challenges, exactly.
I don't know, it seemed like,
But I'm willing, if you have a further discussion with him and get some clarity, Mr. Gibb has.
There's not gonna get more clarity than what's already there.
but what I'm having some trepidation with here. I don't care whether it's Mr. Bibbs or Mr. Hibbs or Mr. Blue or whoever. What we do for one, we should do for all. And if we're gonna set up these kind of policies, and we have not done it with others, if you're gonna utilize this library and have the debates, and I'm just being fair, because I'm a fair person. If he has to provide all of this, pay for security, I understand that, and pay for this, and then I think everyone else uses this library must do the same. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
So I guess what we're basically getting to is to determine if we want to take on the responsibility of holding this debate in our library in the city of East Cleveland on May the 28th and whatever comes with it.
Do we have anything in writing from Mr. Davis outlining
No.
that verbal conversation?
Not that detailed, which is red flags to me as well.
Well, I'm going to defer to the leadership of our director, who would actually be the one responsible for pulling all of this together. And if your recommendation to us is that at this time well, you can speak for yourself and just tell me what your recommendation is.
I'm comfortable making a decision, however, I wanted to put it on the table. I can meet with my team, I can have another conversation with Mr. Bid, and we can see if this is realistic for us, if it's safe, and we have the talent to do it, we'll move forward. If
Yeah,
it's-
I would like to see something in writing from him, kind of outlining all, as much detail as possible so we can get a better clarity. Because Mr. Davis has a tendency, if you don't write them down on paper, things have a tendency to get lost in the conversation. So, I would like to see something in writing as part of that conversation, to see if it's something that can be done.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, does that conclude, new business?
Oh, I just add to that, if we're going to nitpick, and I'm just saying that, I speak whatever. If we're gonna nitpick and we're setting up these norms now, then let's set it up for everyone that utilizes this facility. Not picking and choosing. We have it, which is my understanding. You want to use the library for the debate of the candidates. And that, whether it bring other people here or whatever, we have an opportunity to expose the residents of East Cleveland to the candidates that want to replace Marsha Fudge, which is our congresswoman. And we should have that opportunity to do so.
I don't think anybody's debating that.
No, just finish. The city center is not available. It's under construction or whatever. We just discussed that a couple of weeks ago in reference to that, to get that up and operable. I know some have feeling. I put my feelings aside. I take this library like a person. If we're gonna do, and it's repeated, if we're gonna do things for one, let's do it for all.
But I don't understand the
Let me just
analysis.
finish my point.
I don't understand
Let me
it
finish
because-
my point, Mr. Chairman. If we're going to set up, because other people have been here, and I know that, and it may have not been under the director's, under his auspices, doing his team, that have came to this library and utilized this library. The Democratic Party, which was alluded to earlier, the Democratic Party has met right down here for months and days and Sundays. The candidates running, and that's I've seen 7, have been in the paper, on the news, or whoever running, whether they're Republican, Democrat, I don't know what they are. I know there all was present that was running. As white, black as well, at the debate that I attended in Cleveland. If Mr. Bibbs or Mr. Hibbs or whomever is going to bring it here for the citizen of this community, and it's in our district, and it's our congressperson, we have a right to vote, and he bring it here for the people here in the city to be exposed to the candidates and make a decision when they go to the polls to vote. I'm for that.
And I think what we're doing now is going through the same evaluation process with Mr. Bibbs as we would anyone else who approached the library to utilize our facility for any given purpose. And that's where we stand at now. That concludes, does that conclude new business? Next item on the agenda would be old business. Hearing none, we can move to audience participation.
As of now, we have no audience participation.
No audience participation. Next item on the agenda is to move for an adjournment.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that, the board meeting, adjourned.
It's been moved in second. Mr. Turner, would you please call for the vote?
Mr. Rashid,
Yes.
Mr. Mays,
Yay.
Ms. Shahid,
Yes.
Ms. Sharpley,
Yes.
Mr. Silvera,
Yes.
5 yeses.
We have 5 yeses. This meeting is officially the East Cleveland Public Library Board of Trustees meeting on Saturday, April 17th, 2021 has now been adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.